Hello friends. So in today's topic, I'm going to give the introduction regarding offset rod. That what we have not discussed in the last class. Offset rod. So as we discussed that by using some equipment like crash staff, and we have classification in that crash staff. By using crash staff, we can erect a perpendicular from a line. So if you want to draw a perpendicular from a line, so we are using the equipments which useful to give perpendicular offset or any oblique offset. Oblique offset like this means other than 90 degrees. This may be any angle alpha. So see here. So these two can be done by using crash staff or some other different classification we have. So now let me give you introduction regarding offset rod. So generally, as we know, we have different type of surveying works. In that, even in chain surveying, maybe some surveys they are very important, and some surveys may not much important. Means we need to do some rough work, as well as we need to do some detailed work. So when we go for the detailed work, we use precise equipments which will give us really accurate values. But wherever we need a rough work, so in such particular scenario, we use the equipment which will give you approximate values instead of giving accurate values. So in that, now I am going to give you the details regarding offset rod. Offset rod is also nothing but an instrument used for the purpose of setting out perpendicular offsets. But these perpendicular offsets which are setted or which are setting out by using offset rod are not accurate. These are rough offsets. So they are not much accurate values. These are all rough offsets. So now we will see how the offset rod could be. So generally offset rods are in the same shape of ranging rods. But whereas in case of offset rods, so we will be having a hook at the top. We will be having a hook at the top for the purpose of handling. And then we will be having one slit at the central height of this rod. So which is useful to set out the perpendiculars. So generally this is also divided into number of segments. So where alternative segments are colored segments. So this segment is the colored segment. Okay. Then white and again colored segment. Then white and so on. So in most of the cases, the height of this particular offset would be 3 meter. In most of the cases, it is 3 meter. So therefore, this open slit is located at a height of 1.5 meters. Simply at the middle of this offset rod, the open slit is arranged. So by using this, it is located at a distance of 1.5 meters from the bottom, from the sharp edge. So therefore, you can see a rough perpendicular, not exact perpendicular. Roughly, you can project an offset to an already existing line. So let us say this is already existing line. So therefore, this offset can be done by using this offset rod. So which is known as hook. So this is known as hook, which is arranged at the top, and this is known as open slit, which made at the middle of the height of offset rod, and at the bottom we will be having a shoe, sharp edge shoe. sharp edge shoe. So which is useful to drive the rod into the earth. Okay, so this is regarding the offset part. So next we will see another equipment, a minor equipment, that is the plumb bob. So where actually it is utilized in level. So this is, by using this one you can check the verticality. You can check the verticality of an object. Verticality by using the plumb bob. So generally plumb bob is made up of brass, or it may be made up of iron. So generally it is in the shape of conical shape, being the shape of conical or funnel shape. Okay, so at the top has an arrangement, and you will be having some swivel joint here, swivel joint, and then so this is a spring or a thread. Okay, so with the help of self-weight of this particular plumb bob, you can measure the verticality. So when you allow this plumb bob to move vertical direction, freely move in vertical direction, because of its self-weight, it will move in the same line. It will move in upward direction, vertical direction, either in upward or in the downward direction, but on the same axis. So by this you can check the verticality of an object. In most of the cases, to check the verticality of walls, or to check the verticality of equipment, or to center the equipment over a particular point, generally we use this plumb bobs. Okay, this is what the utility of plumb bob in the surveying. So next we will see what are the suitabilities. So till now we have discussed the equipments that we use in the chain surveying. Now we will see what are the conditions where the chain surveying is really very preferable. Now we will see suitability. Suitability of chain surveying. Suitability of chain surveying. So where it is suitable? First condition is when area to be surveyed is small. When area to be surveyed is small, then only chain surveying is suitable. That is first condition. Next condition is when ground surface or land having small, or better to call a less number of features. So here are features in the sense a less number of data. When it is required with a less number of data, then only we prefer chain surveying. And third one is when two or more stations are mutually visible from a main station. So for suppose when you doing the chain surveying, there may be a possibility to locate number of stations. Means you may measure this distance from here to here, from here to here, and so on. So you may be having some internal stations like this. So they may be connected mutually. So now here the point is when two or more stations are mutually visible from a main station. In the sense, let us say this is the main station. Okay, I will tell you what is the main station and subsidiary stations and so on next immediately after these. So now see, from this station, when mutually two or more stations are visible, then only this chain surveying is preferable. Otherwise, it is not preferable. Okay. If there is no possibility to see two or more stations from a single station, from a main station, so chain surveying is not suitable. This is the third point. Next, we will see where we adapt. The fourth condition is when ground level is relatively planar or flat. So when ground surface is relatively flat, in the sense when you take the cross section of a ground, so let us consider this is ground. So I am taking two different grounds. So this is the ground at some x place, and I am taking some y position. At y position, the ground would be like this. Let us consider the ground is like this. So when you compare these two ground levels, two individual ground levels, so first ground level, even it has undulations, but these undulations are not much considerable and it is having relatively flat. But when you have the second condition, so in this condition, even this is also a ground surface, but which contain undulations, when compared to the first case, the undulations are more in second case. So therefore, in such a scenario, in such cases, chain surveying is not suitable. So for this particular condition only, chain surveying is suitable. So therefore, these four are the major conditions where the chain surveying is suitable. Okay. And now, where the chain surveying is not suitable, these are the suitable conditions. That is okay. But what are the conditions where chain surveying is not suitable? Where it is really very difficult. Simple, opposite to this one. Not suitable cases. So see, in first case, we are dealing with area. When area is small area, okay, when area to be small, and when ground surface having less number of features, means that should not have a complicated number of features. It should have less number of features. So next, when two or more stations are intervisibility. So here we are taking visibility, regarding visibility, and whereas here it is regarding level surface, whether it is level surface or undulated surface. And one more thing I would like to discuss over here, that is the fifth point. So we have discussed area, but we have not discussed the scale. When you want the large scale maps, so maps and plans generally contain small scales, means large scales. Generally, the maps contains really very small scales. So whenever you want the large scale means, first suppose on ground I am measuring 10 meter distance on ground, means in the field directly I have measured the length of a line 10 meter. So this line length is 10 meter. Let us take this is A and B. So now this 10 meter distance directly not able to interpret in a chart. So generally chart may have some 30 centimeter, 52 centimeter length. So where you can't do this. You can't draw this 10 meter as usual on the chart. So therefore what we have to do means generally we just reduce this size to a scale to draw on the drawing sheet. So 10 meter, let us take, if I take 1 centimeter is equals to 1 meter is my scale. Let us consider 1 centimeter on the drawing sheet is equals to 1 meter on the ground, or 1 meter on the ground is equals to 1 centimeter on the sheet. Then if 1 centimeter is equal to 1 meter, then 10 centimeter become 10 meter. So therefore, if you want to interpret this particular 10 meter on the sheet, you can draw a 10 centimeter line. 10 centimeter line. So this 10 centimeter line represents 10 meter on the ground. So this is generally the small scale. Sorry, this is generally the large scale. So for large scale maps or for large scale plans, chain surveying is suitable. Suitable for large scale maps or plans. Okay, maps or plans. Maps and plans both are different. I will tell you later in what way. But now they are only suitable for maps or plans which are having large scales, not the small scales. Okay, so this is how we have to do. This is how we have to follow to adapt the change. So next we will see what are the unsuitable conditions where change surveying is not suitable. Simple. What I am doing is unsuitability or unsuitable conditions. Unsuitability of change survey. Where change survey is not suitable. First, regarding area. So first one is when area is large. When area to be surveyed is large. That is first condition. Next, when ground surface of land having less number of features, it is suitable. Means when ground surface of land having more number of features. More number of features, then it is not suitable. Next condition, when two or more stations are mutually visible. Here, mutually not visible. Not visible. Not visible. Visible from a main station. Next, when ground level is relatively plain or flat, relatively have more undulations. More undulations. There the chain surveying is not suitable. Unsuitable condition. And next, suitable for large scale maps. In the sense, not suitable for small scale maps or plans. So this is how it is suitable at some situations, not suitable at some other situations. So now we will see, before going to measure a line, before going to discuss how to measure a line and what are the problems that we face while measuring, we will discuss what is the terminology that involves in the chain survey. Generally, a small terminology that involves in the chain surveying, we will discuss what is that terminology now. Okay, we will discuss what is the terminology. So terminology in chain surveying. Terminology in chain surveying. Terminology in chain surveying. So what would be the terminology in chain surveying? I would like to discuss now. What would be the terminology in chain surveying? So see, we have some terminology. First one is main station. Second one is subsidiary station. We have two different stations, main stations, subsidiary stations. Third one, baseline. Fourth one, check line. or we can also call this one as proof line. Proof line. Next, tie line. Tie line. Then, so generally, when we talk regarding the tie lines, we can establish some new stations. In most of the cases in chain surveying, we mainly discuss two stations. They are, first one is main station, second one is subsidiary station. But when we talk regarding the tie station, tie line, we will be having one special station, that is tie stations. Tie stations. And next, we have another terminology, that is ranging, then offset. So this is the general terminology that we use in chain surveying. Okay. So main stations, we have subsidiary stations. When we deal with tie line, we will be having tie stations, then baseline, check line, ranging, offset. Okay. So in that, now first we see what is a main station. What is a main station? For example, I am going to give you a common example for all these terminology. So for example, let us consider that I am going to calculate area of a particular land. So generally, which has the boundaries? So let us consider I have a boundary here, I have another boundary here, and somewhere else here. Okay. So these are the points. So in between where I have to calculate the area. So see, let us initially what we have to do means, before going to calculate the area, we need to fix the boundaries like this, and then we need to measure the length between all these points. Okay. So now see here, I am starting somewhere else over here. Okay. So this is the first point. Let us consider this is first point. So I have measured the length between these 2 points. Let us consider that is some L1. Next, continuation L2, L3, L4, L5, L6. So therefore, by measuring these particular lines, what I do is finally, by connecting all these points, I have taken an area. I have plotted one area which is enclosed between all these points. So therefore, if you want to calculate the area according to the principle of chain surveying, we need to separate this entire area bounded between these lines, bounded inside of these lines, should be divided into number of triangles. That should be divided into number of triangles. So if you want to divide into number of triangles, initially what we are doing? Initially we are measuring the lengths between all these boundary points. So therefore these particular points are the reference points or the major points from where we have started the survey. So that is why these stations are known as main stations. Main station is nothing but the starting point of a survey line or ending point of a survey line. In between you may having so many stations, that is different. But the starting and ending points for each and individual measurement. Here I have starting and ending point. For this it is starting point and ending point, starting point, ending point, and combination of all these points will form a major plot, which again subdivided into number of triangles, and so that is why we call these points are the main station. So this is main station, main station, main station, and are denoted by, these main stations are denoted by capital A, capital B, up to one capital Z. So let us name capital A, capital B, C, D, E, F. So So these are all known as main stations. Okay. So now we will see what is the subsidiary station. What is the subsidiary station? So now subsidiary station is something that which is located on the lines connected to the main stations. Means any station that is constructed or that is located over the line which is connecting or which are connecting main stations. So these are known as subsidiary stations. First, suppose I am going to take a subsidiary station over here. I am taking to take a subsidiary station here, and another subsidiary station, another subsidiary station, subsidiary station, subsidiary station. Okay. All these subsidiary stations are located not exactly at the middle, at any point, not exactly at the middle, at any point in between AF main stations, in between AB main stations, like this for R. Okay. We call these stations as subsidiary stations. But what is the purpose of locating the subsidiary station is very, very important. Okay. So these subsidiary stations will run. These subsidiary stations will run the perpendicular lines or any oblique lines from the boundary lines, from boundary survey lines to the internal side of the plot or inside of the plot, so that to give the details of minor number of triangles over here. So that can be done. That can be done by dividing it into number of segments. Okay. So these points are known as subsidiary points. So therefore, see, if I join, let me tell you one thing, that if you want to join all these L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, these are all different. So now, if you join A to C, A to D, A to E, and let us join F to B, F to C, F to D, and then E to A, E to B, E to C, E to D, like that. Okay. Try to join a single point with all other points, and now measure the distance. If you do like that, in this figure you will get the maximum distance that which is bounded between B and E. I am sure that it is bounded between B and E. In the side that may be any position, but from the figure here, that is between B and E. Okay. So therefore, from B and E, I am going to locate a line. Which is really a big line, means which has the greater length among all the lengths. Okay. So this is the greater line, long length line, and we call this long length line between any two main stations is termed as base line. It is termed as base line, which is the maximum length, which has maximum length, means maximum length of line that which connecting any two mutual, which stations? Only main stations. So now from the subsidiary stations you can erect perpendicular which runs from subsidiary station to baseline, subsidiary station to baseline, subsidiary station to baseline at any angle, that may be some theta or that may be exactly 90 degrees, whatever. Okay. So now these subsidiary stations are located by S1, S2 up to Sn, Sn. Number, any number, that may be 100th number, any number. Okay. So this is how we represent. So let us take I am going to represent this point is S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6 and n number. Okay. So now these are known as subsidiary stations. So next we see baseline. Just now I have told you the maximum length line, or it is a big line which connect any two major stations mutually is known as baseline. Okay. So this is really very important. All the dimensions, all the measurements that we measure, especially regarding baseline, the length of the baseline, and all the remaining lengths which are connecting major stations should be measured accurately. That is very important. They should be measured accurately. Okay, you are not supposed to do any mistakes while measuring L1, L2, L3, L4 and L6 as well as capital L. This is really very important. And next one, check line or proof line. This is also very important. Check lines. Name in the set it is telling that check line or proof line. As we know, just now we have discussed in unsuitability and suitability of chain surveying condition. The last point is regarding the scale. We have large scales and small scales. In the sense, whatever we are measured on the ground, we need to plot it over a paper or over a drawing sheet. Okay. So for the purpose of checking whether our drawing is right or wrong, so we just go through this check line or proof line. Check line or proof line is something that which runs from the apex of triangles. Apex of triangles. For suppose if you want to make a triangle, see, this is an apex. Let us consider this is an apex A. I am taking A as an apex. So now from A, I am going to connect the point. I am going to connect a point somewhere else here. So let us take this is some point. So therefore, so that A, this point, and the B main station. So there is a triangle formed. There is a triangle formed. So for this triangle, I am taking this is an apex. So likewise, let us take B is an apex, and then form a triangle like this. Not exact. In this case, it is 90 degrees. No problem at all. In next case, let us try to draw like this with an oblique offset of some theta. So now, therefore, let us take this is some point. So this point D and E, D is the apex. From this apex position to the baseline, I have drawn an oblique offset. So therefore, there is some triangle is formed. Okay. So this is how number of triangles are formed. And at the same time, now when you interpret this D and so on so point, A and so on so point on the sheet, let us take this is the drawing sheet. So by using some scale, let us take maybe 1 meter on the ground. On ground is equals to 1 centimeter on paper. Okay. If you take this scale, and now let us assume that we have drawn all the figure. You have completed the figure. So the head like this. You have completed the figure. So now, how to check it whether my drawing is right or wrong? This is only done by using these check lines. Okay. So now from this apex to here, after taking this scale, you will be having some measurement from point A to so and so point. So the distance measured over here should be after computing the ground distance to a respected scale, the distance plotted in the graph should be is equal to the distance on the original ground. Then only your diagram is correct. So that is why we call these lines are check lines or proof lines. Check lines or proof lines. Next we have tie lines. Tie lines are nothing but any line. Tie line may be any line which is especially used to divide the total figure into number of small triangles. So let us consider that if I want to separate this into a triangle, so you can connect these two positions. So this would be your tie line, which is separating this rectangle into two triangles. Okay. So likewise, I am taking another point from apex that is different. From somewhere else over here, you may take a point up to here and connecting these 2 points. So these line will become a tie line. This become tie line. This become a tie line. Okay. So this become a station, and this is also become a station. You can call this station as the tie stations. You can also call these stations as tie stations. Means from subsidiary station you are connecting a line you are connecting the subsidiary station to a respected point on the baseline. So therefore, there is a line formed, new line is formed. We are calling that line as tie line. So therefore, the station over here, over on the baseline can be termed as tie stations. So therefore, we represent the tie stations with the T1, T2, let us take this is also one tie station. So T1, T2, T3, T4, T5 and so on. So here I have tie stations, so which are represented with the T1, T2 up to T1, Tn. This is all regarding the tie stations. Okay. So next we will see ranging and offset. Ranging and offset. These are all different. I would like to tell one more thing over here. So when you talk regarding the ranging and offset, I will discuss later ill condition, well condition and ill condition triangles. We will see. So let me rough it. So I think you got an idea now. What is main station? A, B, C, D represented with capital A. Subsidiary stations S1, S2, S3 and so on. Baseline, so maximum length line or big length line. Check line or proof line to check the accuracy of the chains algorithm after plotting. Tie lines, especially for the purpose of to divide the total plot into number of triangles into small segments. Next, ranging, offset, I will discuss now. Ranging and offset, I am going to discuss now. So, what would be the ranging here? Ranging, better to talk first. Offset. As I discussed in the last class, you are on the offset. Okay. Offset. Offset is discussed in the crosstalk topic. So offset is nothing but erecting or prolonging an obligatory line, an auxiliary line from a main survey line to some position, some extra position. So we call this one as an offset. Okay. So in previous figure, just now we have discussed some figure approximately like this in this shape, like this. Okay. So in this figure, I have a baseline. Okay. This is my baseline. So now if you draw the line like this, so you can call this one as an offset from subsidiary station to the baseline. So you need to put an offset over here. We call this one as an offset, perpendicular offset. So likewise, from here you may take the offset like this with an angle other than 90 degrees. You can call this one as an oblique offset. Okay. So this is how we have two different offsets, perpendicular offset and oblique offset. This is really very important to connect mutually the baseline, subsidiary stations or main stations. Okay. And how to put this offset, you know very well. Crosstalk, by using crosstalks and different types of crosstalks, you can arrange these offsets, two different types of offsets. Okay. And then we will see the ranging. So before going to talk regarding the ranging, I would like to introduce a small topic that is regarding the triangles. So after dividing it into, let's suppose, after dividing this figure, so this is a main survey boundaries A, B, C, D, E, F. By creating subsidiary stations and all tie stations, you may divide this total survey into number of triangles like this. So let us assume that we have divided it into number of triangles. So like this we have divided. Let us assume. So this is how we have divided. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 number of triangles. Okay, this is how we have divided. That is okay. But after forming the triangle, there is no exact condition to get an ideal triangle. So we will be having three different types of triangles based on interior angles. Okay. As you know, if it is theta, if it is alpha, and if it is beta, summation of alpha plus beta plus theta is equals to 180 degrees. Since we are talking regarding chain surveying, so mostly preferable for plane grounds. In the sense plane surveying. So for plane surveying, as you know, summation of interior angles of a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. At any angle, theta may be some x, alpha may be some y, and beta may be some z. That is different. So summation of all these angles should be 180 degrees. So now the question is, there may be no possibility to get a exact ideal condition, well condition, or ill condition triangles. First suppose if a triangle is formed over here, let us consider I am taking A, F, some F dash. A, F and F dash. If angle bounded here is 60 degrees, let us take here the angle is 60 degrees, here the angle is 60 degrees. So 360 off. 180 degrees. So at every corner the angle is equal. Angle A is equals to angle B, angle F is equals to angle F dash, which is equals to 60 degrees. So therefore we can call this triangle as well conditioned triangle. Ideal triangle. Ideal triangle. We can call this one as ideal triangle. Okay. So in this ideal triangle, you will be having all the interior angles as same. So next, well conditioned triangle. What would be the well condition? Well conditioned and ill conditioned. Well conditioned and ill conditioned. Well conditioned and ill conditioned. These two are differed by 30 degrees and 120 degrees. Please remember, 30 degrees and 120 degrees. Well conditioned triangle, WCT. Ill conditioned triangle, ICT. Okay. So in well conditioned triangle, let us take the same. A, F, F dash. In well conditioned triangle, no angle less than 30 degrees and no angle greater than 120 degrees. Then we call this particular type of out of theta alpha beta. Out of theta alpha beta, no angle should less than 30 degrees, no angle should greater than 120 degrees. Then in such a scenario, we can call a particular triangle as well conditioned triangle. Well conditioned triangle. And ill conditioned triangle, opposite. Maybe any angle may less than 30 degrees or any angle may greater than 120 degrees. Then we call such a particular type of triangle is ill conditioned triangle. Okay. So this is how no angle and here any angle. Okay. So therefore these particular three are very important. Well conditioned triangle, ill conditioned triangle, ideal triangle. In most of the cases you can say that it is really very difficult in the site to form. If you want to do intentionally, we can do, no problem at all. But in the site, for the given condition, there is no possibility to form a ideal triangle in the site itself. But there is a possibility to form well conditioned triangle and ill conditioned triangle. Okay. But here we need to remember one thing, that in the chain surveying, we are supposed to see that no triangle that forms in a chain survey area. In a chain survey area is ill conditioned triangle. We must have to ensure that while doing the surveying, we have to see such that no triangle should be a ill conditioned triangle. The triangle may be ideal triangle, that is okay. The triangle may be well conditioned triangle, that is okay. But if the triangle form is ill conditioned triangle, that is not okay. So that is why in the conditions, in suitability conditions, chain surveying is even only suitable for where the triangles formed in a plot or in an area are well conditioned triangle. All the triangles, if all the triangles found in an area A are well conditioned triangle, then the chain surveying is really very excellent system. This is also a matter. Okay, so please remember this, and then we will discuss the next point, ranging. Next terminology, ranging. As I have discussed in the last class, ranging is nothing but identifying or locating the intermediate positions. Locating the intermediate positions on a running survey line. Ranging is nothing but locating or representing intermediate points or stations over a continuous survey line. Over a continuous survey line. So let us take this A and B. So it has a continuous line AB. So in between we want to keep somewhere else here. Let us take these 3 points or the new stations that are going to be located. Okay. So locating these new points or new stations over a continuous survey line is known as ranging. So therefore this ranging can be done in two different methods, direct method and indirect method. And there is a question arise to follow direct and indirect method. That is, for suppose I want to measure, let us take some 300 meter or 500 meter distance. So this is my starting point. I have chosen 2 points. That is, this is the first point from A. So I need to measure, this is another point from B. I have to measure this particular line, 400 meter. And now in this case I don't have any obstacles. There is no obstructions for the purpose of chaining, for the purpose of measuring. So in that case there is no problem. I can do measure 400 meter continuously, no problem at all, by using 20 meter or 30 meter chain or tape, anything, that is okay. So in this case you can locate intermediate positions. So by using two different methods. First one is by eye ranging. Second one is by using line ranging. If there is no obstructions for the surveying of a particular length, of any length, any some L meter length, so you can do that particular ranging in two ways. First one is by using eye ranging, and second one is by using line ranging. So next case, let us consider the second case. In the second case, so this is the first case. So second case, let us consider that I am going to survey again. I am going to measure the two stations. Let us take A and another station at somewhere else here, that is B. Okay. And now here the problem is A, you are going, no problem at all. At somewhere else here we have a big hill. Let us consider that we have a hill here. So in such case, you can measure the distance up to here, no problem at all, because you don't have any obstruction. But the measuring the remaining distance is the question mark. Why? Because it is because of this hill, presence of hill over here. You are not supposed to go around the hill. I want to take the straight distance, not a circular distance at somewhere else location. So therefore, in such a particular case, you need to go for the ranging. Even there is hill, even there is valley, even there is water body, you must have to measure. Okay. So in that cases, we go for some different types of ranging, and we call that one as indirect ranging. We have reciprocal ranging over here. I will tell you what is reciprocal ranging. And now, this case, these two are included in direct ranging. Direct ranging. So I don't have any obstructions. That is why I am adopting direct ranging. When I have any obstruction, then I go for some different ranging, and we call that as indirect ranging. So in direct ranging, I have eye ranging and line ranging. In indirect ranging, I have reciprocal ranging. Okay, so this is what regarding the ranging. Now in the next class, we will discuss what is eye ranging and how we need to do this. Next, line ranging, how to follow the line ranging, and remaining indirect ranging methods. Okay, thank you for the session. Thanks a lot.